Hey guys, Angus from Spotted Hog Airsoft here today with another Airsoft video review for you guys. Today we're going to be taking a look at an Airsoft pre-release model. This is the Tin Star USA S2S Series M4 Airsoft AEG. Now this has been provided by wholesaler AirsoftSD.com, link down below in the description to their website. And therefore, because it's wholesale, it's not necessarily available to the retail market yet, but when it is available, it'll run you about $210 from what I'm told. Now with that being said, overall I was very pleased with this gun and happy they sent it out to me. So let's go ahead, stop talking, jump right into the video review. Alright, so let's hop directly into the meat of the review here and just start talking about the external quality of this gun, which personally, I was pleasantly surprised when I pulled this thing in the box. I figured, they're sending it to me, probably some Sportline M4. No, not at all. This gun is almost 100% composed of metal. It's got a very solid weight and an incredibly solid feel to it. So overall, I was very pleased with the external construction. Metal pieces on this gun include pretty much everything, so I'm just going to list the plastic pieces, which are composed of what I believe to be a pretty solid ABS plastic, maybe a polymer or some form of that. Point is, it is plastic. Those plastic pieces include your large orange flash hider up here, your textured pistol grip, which again is textured, a little bit better grip on it, as well as your whole stock itself. The buffer tube is metal, just the stock is constructed of that plastic. So overall, everything else in the gun is made of metal, and it's incredibly solid, like I said, feels well put together, nothing wiggles, nothing shakes, with the exception of a little wobble in the mag. So overall, it's built quite well. On the front of the left side of the gun's lower receiver, you will find a nice little painted on trademark. This is an S2S logo, I guess, to go with the series of the AEG, as well as a nice serial number. These are simply painted on in bright white paint, so they're not engraved to stay, and they probably will fade off over time. They look nice now, though. Now, as far as internals go, they're not usually my forte. I'm more of an out-in-the-field performance kind of guy, but from what I can tell you, this gun does have a metal version 2 gearbox. Kind of basic information, but if you're concerned about internal upgrades, that is the type of gearbox this gun has. Otherwise, though, externals, absolutely beautiful, well-built gun. Now let's zoom in on some features. Alright, after that bit about the externals and internals, it's time for some features, and as you guys, if you know my videos, you know to me, there's no bigger feature on an AEG than battery space. And in this case, we don't really have to worry about a difficult battery to put in. There's no skinny lipos to fit into small PEC boxes or anything like that. Instead, because this gun does have a crane stock, that's where our battery is stored. And it's a very simple access. In order to open up your battery compartment in the stock, simply squeeze and slide off the butt plate, remove an insert, and then you will reveal your small type connector tucked inside of the weapon's crane stock. Now, as far as a battery being included, I'm not quite sure. There was one in the box that the gun, came to me in. Wasn't in the packaging with the AEG, so I'm not sure if they just sent that to me to test out or it came with it. But I'll look into that. The point is, it's a small type connector in here, and the crane stock, it's spacious enough for one type of battery, and that would be your nunchuck style battery. I'm sure a slender lipo might fit in there as well, but the trouble with the crane stock is really you're kind of limited to that one nunchuck style battery. However, when you go to insert it, simply slip the connectors together, replace the butt pad and replace the insert, and then you're good to go. The only thing also to point out with the crane stock batteries would be these sort of place holding pieces right here. Now these are constructed of plastic along with the rest of the stock, as I stated, and the issue with these is that these are merely either forced in or glued in sometimes, and what happens is if you slam the battery into the stock too hard, these tend to pop and fly out. And it's not like your battery's going to come sliding out the front, but it will kind of show a little bit, just generally look ugly, and also you never know if you were out in a rainy situation, maybe some water might get in there and damage the battery or something like that. So just be careful when you slide the battery in. The AEG's crane stock is also adjustable besides holding the gun's battery. In order to adjust it, you simply push inward on this sort of paddle piece here. You can take the stock from its shortest position all the way outward to its longest position here, and a couple different positions in between. It's just a simple adjustment matter for comfort positions, and overall, it's nice that you have that on there. Easy to adjust as well if you need to quickly shorten the length or extend it, depending on your situation in game. Moving onward, the S2S M4's selector switch is your standard M4 dial style selector switch with painted on settings. It's a very simple selector, 3 settings: safe, semi, and auto. Overall, the selector switch is pretty nice. It does require a little bit of force to move, so it's not like it's going to be slipping in between settings when you're running out in the field. Overall, it's a good quality and basic selector switch. When it comes down to the M4's magazine, this is your standard M4 style magazine. When inside the well, it does have a little bit of wobble to it, but nothing incredibly significant. And in order to eject the magazine, you simply give a push into the magazine release, standard M4 style, located on the right side of the gun's receiver. At that point, the magazine will just drop out, so be prepared to catch it. Now the included magazine is your standard high capacity 300 round M4 style metal mag. It's a pretty simple design, works exactly like any other high cap. You'd fill it up through the trap door at the top, BBs would feed through that hole right next to it, and down to the bottom is where you'd wind in order to create the BB flowing upward. Now as far as the magazine's feeding goes, it's pretty darn nice, just works like your same old high cap. You got to wind it to keep it feeding properly, and other than that, it feeds perfectly fine. Real no issues as far as the magazine was concerned, seeing as how it's just your basic M4 high cap. Now the S2S Airsoft M4 AEG does obviously have that very, very long top rail up here. You can go ahead and mount any optic of your choice on. Now as far as iron sights go, it actually does have iron sights. They are flip-up sights. You could easily just flip them down instead of having to remove them altogether if you wanted to put an optic up there. And when you do flip them up, this is how they would appear. Let's take a closer look at the iron sights. Starting with your rear sight. The rear sight's pretty nice. Like I said, it is flipped down, and this one is adjustable for both windage and elevation. In order to adjust elevation, give the center piece a crank, and in order to adjust windage, give this side knob a crank as well. It's a standard pinhole style sight in the back that's meant to line up with the front sight post, and it's also pretty cool that they took really nice detail, wrote all the markings on there rather nicely in bright white paint. Now the front sight itself is pretty basic, like I said, meant to be lined up with the rear sight. It just has a standard sight post located in the middle. This sight post is adjustable if you wanted to raise or lower it. If you're wondering what this kind of lever or piece in the front there is, what that's for is if you wanted to flip it up or flip it down, you simply give that a tap in order to move it to either position. So the iron sights are great. They're accurate to the gun, nicely detailed, very carefully made and set up, and they're, nice. However, in my opinion, you got that big top rail. Why not take advantage of it? Don't be afraid to put a nice optic on this gun and really complete the look. Talking about further customization options, you have this whole RAS handguard here full of 20mm metal rails. You can go ahead and mount any needed accessory you want on here. Maybe a PEC box with a laser just for coolness factor, a flashlight, a tactical foregrip down the bottom, maybe a small grenade launcher or something like that. You can do whatever you want. It's got plenty of customization options with these rails, and to me, customization is always a plus. Now yes, the charging handle on this M4 does serve a function. When you pull it back, as you can see, your dust cover will flip down and your hop-up will be revealed. This gun does have a functional bolt catch so that you can simply release the charging handle and still be able to work on your hop-up. The hop-up on the gun is obviously this small little black gear right there. It's a little bit hard to access if you had larger gloves in the winter time, I suppose. It's a pretty effective little unit. We'll be testing it a couple minutes in the performance test, but overall just wanted to show it to you. Like I said, the functional bolt catch does have a release. In order to release it, simply give the release a push, and when that's done, it will snap shut, covering up your hop-up. And now that I teased you by showing the hop-up, let's go ahead and get into the performance test portion of this video, chrono this AEG, as well as take a few shots at a target. Now as far as the chrono went, we used TSD Tactical 0.2 gram BBs as well as a 9.6 volt nunchuck battery. The results we saw were pretty nice. FPS was consistent and pretty high at around the 390 to 400 feet per second area. Great for an outdoor field style weapon. As far as rate of fire went, we saw around the 900 rounds per minute mark, which converted into about 15.5 rounds per second. So overall, I was pretty pleased with the results we saw on the chrono. For the accuracy test portion of the video, I positioned myself only about 110 feet away from the target and took aim with 0.25 gram Raptors Airsoft BBs as well as an adjusted hop-up. Overall, I was pretty pleased with the accuracy I saw at that distance. We were able to hit the target essentially every single time on either full or semi-auto. So at that closer range, maybe a little close in the outdoor field, you're definitely going to be able to hit your target with this AEG as long as you take the time to adjust your hop-up and get everything set up correctly. Overall, pretty pleased with both semi and full auto, although I noticed full auto that it did suffer a little bit from what I call the cloud effect, all the BBs kind of going out and just generally spreading in a little bit of a different direction there. Also, I did have to wind the high cap. Alright, and with the conclusion of the performance test there, I think it's time we go ahead and wrap up the video. Now, first things you got to remember about me. I'm an airsofter first and a reviewer second. When it comes to reviewing things, I take a look at them as if I was in a game. Would this thing perform all right? Would its features meet my needs when I'm out in the airsoft skirmish? And sorry if this seems unreviewer-like, but personally, I didn't find really anything significantly wrong with the TinStar USA S2S Series M4 AEG. Personally, I thought it was pretty darn nice. It's got quite a few things going for it. Number one, since it's that M4 style platform, you have the magazine compatibility. Pretty much everybody out in the field nowadays runs some kind of M4 that you can use a mag from. You have an easy change battery. You could change it out in the field if you really needed to. You have an adjustable stock for some comfort options, and you also have this whole RAS system for customization options. So overall, everything personally with my needs is met. It also has a cool functional bolt catch, which to me is just awesome, and I like to have it on my guns. The hop-up, it's effective, but it's not the greatest thing in the entire world. It gets BBs down there pretty accurately, but typical M4 hop-up, it's not necessarily the greatest thing in the world as far as range goes, helping out with that. Otherwise, though, I thought the gun was built incredibly well, rather nicely, and performance-wise, we saw some great FPS readings, as well as some pretty nice accuracy to tell you this might be a good AEG when it's released to take out in the Woodland Field style game. With the setup, though, it looks like maybe if the FPS is a little lower, it could run as a CQB AEG as well. So overall, really, wrapping it up, I didn't really have necessarily any huge complaints with this gun, besides, like I said, a typical M4 hop-up, maybe a little loose pieces here on the stock, but nothing gigantic that would tell me to say, don't buy this. I think it's a nice quality gun. Thanks a lot to TSD for sending it out to me, and with that being said, this has been Spotted Hog Airsoft's review of the Tin Star USA S2S Airsoft M4 Series AEG. So thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe.